Is it Mojirani Za? Am I saying it right?
Not really.
Mugi, right?
Yeah.
Or Muji?
Mugira.
Mugira. Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it Aimi Mozori?
Yes.
Aimi Mozori. Okay. Is that your first time of joining lectures?
Sorry?
Is it your first time of joining our lectures
Yes. This one there for this lesson.
for these lessons? Okay. Same
Mm.
for you, Mogi? Same for you? All right. So what's your backgrounds? Amy and Mogi Rani, sir. What's your backgrounds? What do you do? What are your backgrounds, please? What do you do, Amy? What's your profession?
Healthcare assistant.
And then
Healthcare assistance.
you're a healthcare assistant. That's good. Good to know. All right. So we've done, I think, lesson 1 and lesson 2. And today we sort of need to do justice to lesson 3, which seeks to cover the areas of identifying the select area of appropriate sources from the subject area to be used in research work. So we started with lesson 1, lesson 2, where we did more into what are research proposals or research theses and the kind of formalities that we need to adhere in data, collecting of data and sampling. Okay. And so we rightly said by Nancy, we um discuss areas in terms of the kind of data that we can collect. We mentioned that there are 3 types, no, 2 types, but an extended one of collecting of data or information gathering. One, we spoke about primary data collection, okay, and the other time we spoke about secondary data collection. We said that the primary is more rigorous. The primary is where you collect all sorts of data to sort of help you in choosing the right project work or thesis or the right um, research work to do. So in your primary data, you collect all kinds of informations from journals, from books, from written, so to speak, written informations. And then we said the secondary is when you choose one amongst the many information that you've collected onto one of it that you want to talk about. And that is the sense. So the primary is more involving and the secondary is more specific. Okay. Primary involves quite a number of information searching, but the secondary is more specific. Okay. All right. Now, identifying and selecting appropriate source for research project work. We mentioned that there's also a tertiary part of information gathering where you look into more journals, academic reviews, peer reviews information, NGOs informations, and you name them. The last time we mentioned that there are various organizations or governmental organizations that you can follow them in terms of a particular kind of information that you need. There are NGOs that you can follow them. There are government organizations, either for healthcare, health safety, and other conference papers that you can rely on in terms of your information gathering. In fact, we have the NMC, the Midwifery Council, we have the GMC, the General Medical Council, and various resources that you can rely on in your data gathering, and so on and so forth. Okay. We spoke about the Lancet. Really, we spoke about it, didn't we? Nancy, we spoke about the Lancet academic journals we did. Okay. We spoke about the public health, didn't say the health affairs We spoke at the social determinants. We had all the discussions about this, didn't we? Government report and statistics. Okay, Office for the National Statistics. We had discussions on all the Keynes Fund, thesis and dissertations. Okay, professional and practitioner journals, British medical journals. We spoke about all this, didn't we?
Yeah.
Nancy,
Yep, we did.
are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yes. So I'm having a recap with those who were not there. Okay. I'm having a recap of those who were not there. Okay. All right. So if we've had discussions about all this, we will jump on to draw today's lectures. And I'm sure you have access to your models, don't you? Hello?
Yes, we do.
I'm sure you have access to your models, don't you?
Yes.
You do. Okay. That's fine. So if you have access to your models, then we'll look at today's lectures. Okay. I've just helped those who are not here, Amy and the rest, to have a fair view of what we discussed the other time. And I'm going to today's lectures then. Okay. Amy and Mojira, are you okay? Muji, are you there?
Yes.
Muji, I've done a recap of a few things that we discussed last week. Okay.
All right.
Yes, Amy. Okay, we've done a few things that we discussed last week. But if you have the recordings or you have access to your student model, you can always get the recordings. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm having today's that I mentioned to you, so I displayed few governmental organizations that we can get information from as a healthcare area, and all that. Those are what we did last week, but then I'm going for today's lectures. Okay. Now, today's lectures, we want to look into more into understanding the concept of integrity and quality and taking them into account in the research project work. Integrity and quality is very important. Why? Why is it very important, Amy? Why is it integrity very important? One as a student, and then one as relative to project work. Why is it important? Mojiri and Amy, why is it important? Can somebody answer me, please? Amy, Mojiri, Moji, and Nancy. Why is it important? Why is it important? It's an interactive class, so please, you need to interact. Guys, are you not answering me? Nancy, Nancy, Nancy.
I'm here.
I'm saying, why is it important? Why is integrity and accountability very important in research work? Hmm? Amy, Amy, Muji, Moji,
Yes.
why is it important, please? Why is integrity and account important in as a student or in your project work?
To my opinion, so you can give the accurate and truth about your research.
So you can do what, please?
You can give the accurate information. I think so. That's what I'm thinking.
Accurate information. So what do you mean by accurate informations, please?
The correct information.
The correct informations. How do we get the correct informations?
By researching.
Yeah. So in researching, what do we do? If we research and the informations are now our own informations, what do we do?
You compare them with information, I think.
Yeah, but what do we do? The informations that we gather, if they are not our own informations, what do we do to tell the school, the university, or your supervisor or your tutor? What do you do that shows that this information that you gathered are not your own
Oh,
information?
you give the reference where
Correct.
you get the information from.
Correct. All right.
I
This
think
is what I
so.
expect from you,
What
correct?
I'm thinking. Yeah.
Okay. Correct. That's what we do. We do references, don't we? We give references. And what else do we do? Don't we sign a declaration form? So in the absence of references, you'll be cited against plagiarism, don't we? All right. So integrity and quality are fundamental to the success and credibility of any research project. In the context of investigating socioeconomic disparities in healthcare access in the UK, maintaining high standards of integrity and quality is essential to ensure that the findings are reliable, they are valid, and they are ethically sound. Okay? Your findings that you gather, they ought to be reliable, they ought to be very, very valid, and they ought to be ethically sound. All right? They ought to be ethically sound. All right? All right? And when we say something is reliable, it means that your sources that you gather the information from, you have duly referenced it. Okay, they are valid because by the references, the university or the examining board can refer to it and check if indeed where you got information from are valid and they are ethically sound. Ethically, it means that they don't frown against any kind of information that is not really accepted university wise or ethically, sound. Okay. What are concepts of integrity in research? Ethically conduct, informed consent, ensuring that all participants are fully informed about the nature of the research, including its purpose, procedures, risks, and benefits, and that they have voluntarily agreed to participate. Informed consent. Okay. Ensuring that all participants are fully involved about the nature of research, including its purposes and purposes. So you have given consent. It is ethical. Okay. Those you seek to gather information from through their questionnaires and all that, you've duly informed them. So you have their consent. And then you have to look into confidentiality and anonymity. Okay. What is confidentiality? Protecting the privacy of the participants by keeping their data confidential, and anonymous means they keep them private and identify information in reports and publications. Okay. Making sure that the informations are confidential. You have seek consent from a group of people that you expect them to participate in your survey or your questionnaire. You have to ensure that information that they're giving to you, they are confidential. Okay. They are very confidential. All right. It could be used for your project work, but they ought to be confidential. Avoiding harm, ensuring that the research does not cause any physical, psychological, emotional harm to participants. Amen. It doesn't cause physical, psychological, or emotional harm to participants. Okay. Are we together? Okay. Physical harm, psychological harm, and emotional harm to participants. Okay. Let's proceed on. Honesty and transparency. Accurate reporting. Accurate reporting. Providing a truthful and accurate account of the research findings, methods, and procedures. Okay? Honesty and transparency. Accurate reporting. Providing a truthful and accurate account. Muji, you said that, isn't it? Accurate, isn't it, Muji? You mentioned that, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. So this is what you say. Accurate account of the research findings, methods, and procedures. Very, very important. What you gather should be accurate. It needs to stand the test of honesty and transparency. Okay. Acknowledging limitations. Of course, there are limitations in your sample data and all that. And so there should be transparency in discussing the limitations of the research, including potential biases and uncertainties. In every research work, there are limitations, don't they? There are limitations, isn't it? And so those limitations need to be fairly displayed or mentioned in your project work or your research work. Limitations in terms of what? Limitations in terms of data gathering, what you went through in the limitations, you name them and all that. You need to ensure that you have mentioned those limitations. Responsible conduct. Avoiding plagiarism, we all know that. Okay? Avoiding plagiarism, we all know that. By not giving reference, you are then avoiding plagiarism. By not giving the right bibliography and right references and all the citations and all that, then you are not avoiding plagiarism. Plagiarism is something that goes around the misconduct of the university, and that can lead into you being withdrawn for the course that you intend to do. They take this, university take this thing very, very serious. You'll be one the first time, the second time, you'll be cited again, examination, more practice. And that may lead to you being withdrawn from your studies. All right. Any questions at this stage? Data integrity. In your research work, you are going to present data. You have to define data. You need to interpret those data. And so those data also need to be duly referenced. Okay. Wherever you took the data from, you need to don't fabricate those data or don't manipulate. Okay. Concepts of quality in research. Validity. Internal validity. Ensuring that the research design accurately measures what it is intended to measure, and that the findings are not influenced by extraneous variables. Okay. Internal validity. Ensuring that the research design accurately measures what is intended to measure, and that the findings are not influenced by extraneous variables. Okay. Very, very important. Okay. Very, very important. You have to make sure the research is accurate. Again, and intended to measure the findings that are not influenced by so many, and external variables that will not make sense relative to the data that has been collected. All right. External validity, ensuring that the research findings can be generalized to other settings, populations, and times. I did mention that your project work, you need to make sure that it's not too broad, but it should be very specific. And in being specific, the populations, the information that you gather, the populations spectrum that you decide, it should be no to settings, okay? It, it should be something that is not over Popularize. Okay, so it says ensuring that the research findings can be generalized to other settings, populations, and times. Okay, so it should be practical. It should be relating to, other jurisdictions, and all that. So populations and time is something that somebody can relate to when they pick up your research work. Consistency, consistency and dependability. Consistency, the research and methods, instruments should yield consistent results when repeated under similar conditions. Okay, consistency, very important. And then dependability, providing detailed documentation of the research process so that the others can replicate the study. Providing detailed documentation of the research process so that others can replicate the study. Awesome, awesome, beautiful. You have to provide detailed documentation in project work or research work. We provide detailed information. Hence why we do literature review, and we do data collection and data sampling, and we do methodology, and you do recommendations and conclusions and all that. Okay, you even do what we call objectives. Okay, so those are able to give a detailed information to whoever decides to, follow suit or review your what do you call it, your research work. Okay, do you have any questions? Any questions at all? Mhm. Ah, não precisa. Aqui pronto. Eu não precisa onde aqui. Pronto, não precisa. Any questions, please? Any questions? Any questions, please? Okay, let's proceed. Rigor, methodological rigor, employing rigorous, appropriate research methods to ensure that credibility. I've mentioned that already. Okay, methodology. Analytical rigor, I've also mentioned that using robust analytical techniques to accurately interpret the data. I mentioned that you can use Venn diagrams, you can bar charts, you can use histogram. Okay, these are things that you can use. We have what we call scattered plotting. Okay, you could use all those things in presenting your data. We call it methodology, interpreting your data. So if you say 80% of people that you interviewed said yes, you need to present it in a data form, in a diagram that shows that 80% said yes, so that people can understand with the figure, figurative, or with the data presentation. When they pick it out, they can read that as well. Okay. Peer review. We said that subjecting the research to a peer review to evaluate the findings and method. Peer review is when your own colleague is trying to review or critique your own research work. We call it peer review. Okay. Peer review. Peer review. Okay. Then we have stakeholder engagement. Engaging with stakeholders, including participants and other researchers, to enhance the credibility and relevance of the research. Okay. Stakeholder engagement. Engaging with stakeholders, including participants and other researchers, to enhance the credibility and relevance of the research. Okay. Okay. Engaging with stakeholders, including participants and other researchers, to enhance the credibility and relevance of the research. When we say engage the stakeholders, probably you were tasked by a company to do the research, and probably they are paying you for, or you were tasked by an organization to do that research. So they are stakeholders in your project work or your research work. Okay. Even those you sort of gather information from in your project work, they also become stakeholders. So you need to keep them up to date with what you have done so far with the research work and what you intend to do with that research work. Okay. This helps to motivate or create some kind of credibility in your research work and the relevance of its application. Okay. We mentioned ethical conduct, where we've talked about the informed consent, ethical approval. The study will be submitted in ethical review and approval by the relevant institution or ethics. If indeed you are doing for an organization, they need to approve your project work. Okay, they have taxed you, but then they need to approve the conclusion of the chosen topic that you intend to do. And at any stage, you need to inform them what you have gathered so they can approve. Okay. Okay. Then we have honesty. Why is Shema doing that? Honesty and transparency. Accurate reporting. Accurate reporting. Or WhatsApp phone. WhatsApp number. Let me share that. Accurate reporting. Findings will be reported accurately with a clear explanation of the methods used and the data collected. Acknowledging limitations. The limitations of the study, including potential biases and areas of uncertainty, will be clearly discussed in the final report. Okay. In the final report. Okay. Responsible conduct. Avoiding plagiarism. We've spoken about it, haven't we? All sources will be properly cited using the Harvard references. How many of you know that in this UK varsity, the reference accepted is Harvard type of reference? Okay. And they have a software to detect if anybody is doing something negative. Okay. There is a software to determine that. Then we have data integrity. Data integrity. Data will be collected and stored using secure and reliable methods, ensuring that it is not tampered or misrepresented. Okay? The data should not be tampered or misrepresented. Very, very important. Okay? How many of you have done a research work before? Lance, have you done a research work before? How many of you have submitted a project work before?
I've not.
You've not.
I've not done any research or any.
Mogi, have you done a research work before?
We have done some assignments. Is that what you mean?
No assignments, research, project work.
No,
You've not. Okay.
no.
So this will be your first time, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Pay attention there. So quality assurance. In quality assurance, we tend to look into the validity of the project work, the reliability, the rigors, and credibility. I've mentioned this already. I say valuable in which we validate because we can validate the source of the project work, of the research that you seek to talk about. You can validate. It's validable. Okay. It's something that you can, the university or your tutor can cross-check and see what has been done. Okay. And see what has been done. It also how valid so it said the research design will be carefully developed to ensure that it is accurately measures the impact of the socioeconomic status of healthcare success. So it depends on the topic that you are choosing. The topic that you choose must have a topic that you choose must have a tangible validity that we can check and see that what you have chosen makes sense. Okay, it should be valid. It should be reliable as well. Consistent procedures will be followed throughout the data collection and analysis, emphasis and phases to ensure reliability. To ensure okay reliability, methods will be documented in detail to allow for replication. okay, to allow for replicate, and that's what we call quality assurance in research work. A rigorous statistical and systematic analysis techniques will be employed to interpret the data. Peer review will be sought to validate the findings. Credibility. Stakeholder engagement will be a key component of the research process, involving participants, healthcare providers, and policymakers to ensure that the research is relevant and credible. Okay? Involving participants, healthcare providers, and policymakers to ensure that the research is relevant and it's also credible. Your research should be relevant and it should be credible. Relevant in what sense? In the sense that you are trying to solve a solution. You are trying to solve a problem. Okay? Your research work should have an a component and an element part of it that should be solving a problem that you have identified. So if you look at it, the top, it says socioeconomic problems. And so your research work should be able to have done a proper rigorous check and see that what you are presenting, your findings, are really solving a problem in a country, a locality, or within the healthcare sector. Okay. Okay. Maintaining high standard of integrity and quality is essential for conducting credible and reliable research on socioeconomic disparities in healthcare access. By adhering to ethical principles, you're ensuring methodological rigor, engaging with stakeholders, the research project, and produce a valuable insights that can inform policy and practice, ultimately contributing to the reduction of health inequalities in UK. And so, whilst your project tends to look into a more holistic finding in terms of the inequalities in healthcare in the UK, it is looking at the disparities. Okay, it is more specific, looking into the disparities within the healthcare access, adhering to the ethical principles, ensuring that there's enough data rigorous, and therefore you engaging your stakeholders. And I gave example that if the project, the funding organization is and a body, they are stakeholder, they have a stake in your project work, and so anything you do, you need to present to them just like you present to your supervisor to give you a green light as to whether or not what your project work seeks to do is in line with the principles and agreements and the funding organization's visions and missions. Okay, and these are examples of references, the Harvard type of references. All right, do you have any questions at all? Any questions at all? Let's proceed on. Validity. Validity refers to the extent to which a research study measures what it intends to measure. It ensures that the results of a study are accurate and reflect the true situation without being influenced by external factors. What are the external factors? We may have factors like political factors and factors that affects your findings. Where you are, probably there were a lot of wars and instability in there, so those may affect your way of gathering findings and all that. There may be economic issues, there may be threats. Okay, so there may be legal issues, there may be ethical issues where you are, and therefore it wouldn't, like in Nigeria, there's issues of what kidnapping and all sort. And so if you're having a finding in that area to find the root causes of the kidnapping happening in various states in the Nigerian environment, you might be necessarily not gather the details that you want because of those external factors, whether political factors or wars and instability that may affect you. And so these are things that in your project where you look into and you also make sure it becomes part of your limitations. Okay, it becomes part of your two limitations. Okay, we have internal validity and external validity. The internal seeks to ensure that the observed effects in a study are due to the independent variable and not other confounding variables. Achieved through careful research design, control of extraneous variables, and the use of appropriate research findings, okay, or research methods. Where the external validity looks into a more generalized study findings to other settings, populations, and time. So the external one looks at, as I mentioned, the populations, the external factors, and all that. But the internal one looks more into independent variables, that are achieved through careful research design, okay, rather than the external ones. Okay. What are the importance in research? Why? Validity is crucial as it determines the accuracy and the trustworthiness of the research findings. Without validity, the results of a study cannot be considered credible or applicable beyond the specific study in context. It makes sense, okay? Because once your research has a validity, it has a start time, and it has an end time, what we call project deliverables. Okay, project deliverables. It means that then you can be trusted in your trustworthiness. Okay, all right. Example in research project is that investigating socioeconomic disparities in healthcare access. Ensuring validity means accurately measuring the impact of socioeconomic status on healthcare access and outcomes without interference from other variables. Okay, all right. Socioeconomic status on healthcare access and outcomes without interference from other variables. Okay, from other variables. So let's look into reliability. What is reliability? Reliability refers to the consistency and dependability of the research findings. It means that if the study were repeated under the same conditions, it would yield to same results. It means that if the study were repeated under the same conditions, it would yield the same results. Types of reliability. Types of reliability. Test, retest reliability. Consistency of results when the same test is administered to the same group at different points in time. It ensures stability over time. Okay. This is what we call the test, retest reliability. It's consistency of result when the same test is administered. So COVID-19 tests, when you do them regularly, if them come reliability. HIV, when you do that, the flu jab test, when you do them regularly, then becomes a test retest. It is reliable that this test never change it. It always bring out the intended result that we want. Okay. Then you have the inter-rata reliability. Consistency of results when different researchers or raters observe or measure the same phenomenon. The same phenomenon. The same phenomenon. Okay. Consistency of results when different researchers or raters observe or measure the same phenomenon. So while the first one is more individual or a particular routine, but the second one is more diverse. It is inter-rata. It means that different researchers do those researches and they conclude on the same thing. Okay, this helps against bias because you can't say only one or two persons were the one who came out with the testing. You have diverse people coming together, 5, 10 people, and therefore it ensures that there are no biases in the test being done. Okay. Then we have the internal consistency. Okay, consistency of results across items within the test or measurement too. Measured using statistical technology like the Chrome Batches Alpha. You can also use what we call Six Sigma. Six Sigma. Okay, Six Sigma can be used also in checking the test and variables and what do you call it? You could use also for defects and errors within a particular confinements in what we do and what you don't do. So Six Sigma is a tool that you normally use in determining the efforts and the problems that people face as well. Okay. Research, important research, we mentioned about that. Example of research project, we mentioned about that. Ethical considerations. Okay. Ethical considerations. What when we say ethical consideration, what do we mention that you cannot do participation in your research work in terms of data without not in seeking consent from those you seek for, because you need to tell them what you seek to. So ethical confidentiality, we spoke about that, didn't we? Very, very important. Avoidance of harm. Okay, so your researcher should not, portray harm, physical, emotional, okay? Very, very important. It should not be physical or emotional. It should not, or psychological. It should not produce harm. Okay? Very, very, very important. Anything that you do that will produce harm, it becomes a problem. Okay, we say it should be private. Ensure that participants identified are not revealed in any part of the research. Protect them. So in project work, we don't mention the name of those we spoke to. We use, you can use A or B. You don't mention the names of those you spoke to. Okay? And that builds integrity. Once you don't do that, it builds integrity, honesty, accurate findings, and limitations, and all that. It helps credibility and trustworthy. People can trust you in what you have done. Okay. Do you have any questions? Do we have any question? Do we have any questions at all? Okay, in addressing ethical considerations, you need to develop a detailed information consent processes, including clear information sheets and consent forms. You need to have a form that they can sign. Implement a strict data protection measures to maintain participant confidentiality and anonymity. Okay, 2, seek ethical approval from a relevant ethics committee to ensure that the study meets all ethical standards. Monitor the research process continuously to identify and adhere and address any ethical issues that arises. Okay, that arises. Conclusion. Understanding and implementing the concepts of validity, reliability, and ethical considerations are crucial for conducting high-quality research. We mentioned about that. These principles ensure that the research findings are accurate, trustworthy, and conducted in a manner that respects the rights and well-being of participants in the context of investigating socioeconomic disparities in healthcare access in the UK. Adhering to these concepts will enhance the credibility and impact of the research. This is very important. Okay, very, very. And below you have your references as well. Okay, outline how valid reliability and ethical considerations appropriate are taken in account. Okay, so let's see. Introduction. In conducting a research on socioeconomic disparities in healthcare access in the UK, it is crucial to ensure that the principles of validity, reliability, and ethical considerations are meticulously integrated into the research design and implementation. These principles guarantee the credibility, accuracy, and ethical integrity of the study, and thereby enhancing its contribution to academic knowledge and policy making. Very important. Okay, academic knowledge and policy making. Very, very important. Okay, ensuring validity, internal validity, control of confounding variables. Okay, the research designs includes identifying and controlling potential confounding variables such as age, gender, ethnicity, and pre-existing health conditions to ensure that the observed effects are due to socioeconomic status. So once you talk about socioeconomic, depending on the wording, you need to look into at least, you can't talk about that. You have to look at the age factor, the gender factor, okay, what is confronting the particular area that you seek to talk about. Okay, and so those are things that we expect that you should mention them. Okay, and then the validated instruments should be data collection tools such as surveys and questionnaires. I mentioned this severally. Developed based on existing validated instrument tools are pilot tested to ensure they are accurately measured. Okay, clear operational definitions. Concepts such as socioeconomic status, healthcare access are clearly defined and ensure consistency in measurement and interpretation. Okay, these are things that you need to look at. External validity. Representative sampling. The sampling strategy ensures that participants are representative of the broader population, including various socioeconomic strata, geographic locations, and demographic groups. Okay, demographic groups. Replication. The study design allows for replication in different contexts and with different population to verify the generality of the findings. Very important. Then you look at real world relevance. The data methods and scenarios are designed to reflect real-world conditions, enhancing the applicability of the findings to actual healthcare settings. Okay, very, very important. Ensuring reliability. Test, retest reliability. Pilot testing, stable conditions. Okay, pilot testing, data collection instruments are pilot tested with a small sample to ensure they yield to consistency results over time. Any necessary adjustments are made based on the pilot test outcomes. Stable conditions. Okay, when we say pilot testing, we know that, don't we? Testing something, giving like a first test of something, you are piloting the test. Okay, the stamp stable condition data collection procedures are standardized to minimize variations caused by different types of environment. Very, very important. Our environment is very important. It determines the kind of data that you can come out with. Okay, Nancy and Mujira, are you with me?
Yes.
You are. Any questions at all? Any questions? Okay. Training for data collectors. All data collectors are thoroughly trained to ensure consistency in how they administer surveys and conduct interviews. Of course, if you don't train somebody well and he conducts interview which is not the best approach or ethical and not consensual, then it's going to be a problem. It may lead to a fight, argument, and all that, and you don't want to get yourself in such situations because you only want data collection. So your guys or people that you send them out need to be really trained. Okay. They need to have consent, and if you're taking videos of people and all that, you need to seek consent from them. Regular meetings and calibration sessions are held to discuss any issues and ensure uniformity in data collection. Standardized protocols. Clear, detailed protocols for data collection and analysis are established and followed to reduce variability between different researchers. Very, very important. Internal consistency. We mentioned about this. We've spoken about this. Internal consistency, we spoke about that, didn't we? We said internal ones are the independent variables. External ones are more to do with populations and all that, okay? Consistency checks. Statistical techniques such as the Cronbach alpha are used to assess the internal consistency of scales and indices used in the study. This ensures that multiple items measuring the same concept yield to consistency results, okay? This ensures that the multiple items measuring the same concept yield to consistency results. Okay. All right. So in that, how do you address ethical consideration? We mentioned that. I said informed consent has been made. It's been comprehensive and information. The consent participants might be provided with clear, comprehensive information about the study, including the purpose of the study, the procedures, the risks that will be involved, the benefits, so they know the information that if they so they know that they are giving you their information because you're collecting data, they know the risks involved. Okay, for instance, if you're undercover to investigate Namibia or Uganda or whatever something's happening, or some corruption or there's some killing going on, those people who are going to be part of you, you are going to recruit them to where you need to let them know and they need to seek consent the risks involved in the undercover journey you are embarking on. So people need to know what this research or what you intend to do. They need to know. Okay. Voluntary participation. Participation in the study is entirely voluntary, and participants are informed of their right to withdraw at any time without penalty. Confidentiality, and we spoke about confidential data protection measures. The data should be clearly stored and secure. Data should be professionally stored and secure because these are people's private information. So you need to comply with the laws of the country where you find yourself. Okay. Confidentially reporting. Findings are reported in a way that it ensures individual participants cannot be identified, maintaining confidentiality. Okay. Then you have avoidance of harm. Risk assessment. Potential risks to participants are assessed and measures are implemented to minimize these risks. Participants are provided with support resources if needed. Ethical approval. The research proposal is submitted to an institutional ethics committee for review and approval. This process ensures that the study adheres to ethical standards and guidance. Okay. Integrity and honesty. Accurate reporting. Results are reported honestly without fabrication or falsification. The limitations of the study are clearly acknowledged. Proper citation. All sources of information and data are appropriately cited to avoid plagiarism. Okay? Okay? So you have the designing of the study. Okay, you have data collection, which we make. It's a mixed methods of approach. It's chosen to capture both qualitative and quantitative. When we say qualitative and quantitative, what does it mean? In quantitative is the quantity, the qualitative is about the quality. Okay, so there's quantitative data and qualitative data. How do you understand that? Do you guys understand that? Do you understand that? Hmm? So when you say qualitative, in your data or questionnaire, questions like answer why. Okay. In qualitative, you're talking about quantity. So how much? It's about quantity. That you have to talk about how much, the number, the measure and test. Okay. But in qualitative, you observe and interpret. Okay. So quantitative data is numerical and measurable, whilst qualitative data is descriptive and non-numerical. Okay. So in quantitative is non-numerical. Okay. While qualitative is more descriptive. Okay. So when we say quantitative, we say count, measure. Okay. Okay. Are we together? So quantitative, you say how many, how much, how often. But in qualitative, you say why and how. Okay. In qualitative, we do interviews, we do focus group, we observe. But in quantitative, we measure, we count, we do surveys. Okay.
When you say measure, like to measure the research you have
Yes,
collected?
yes. So in qualitative, yes, you measure, the number of people, you understand, that
Okay.
you have interviewed. You understand me?
Oh, okay.
Exactly. So you put them into a data. So in quantitative, it's more about the data collection, but in qualitative, it's more about the interview that you have done rather than the number of people. You understand?
Okay.
The interviews, you focus on the but in present the data, the quantitative is more statistical in analysis, while the qualitative is more grouping them into teams and categories. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. So for instance, if you have done an interview or you have done a questionnaire and you had maybe 30 people, and out of 30 people, five had red. I'm giving an example. Five like Brazilian hair and 20 like glove non-Brazilian hair. If you are using quantitative to present, then you have to say the number of people, isn't it? You understand? If you are going to present the data through the quantitative, it means you have to quantify them, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in that, you have to talk about 30 people that you spoke to. 5 people said they like Brazilian hair, isn't it?
Yeah.
5, but if it is the other one, you don't present with a number. You talk more about the color of the responses of what the responses. Okay, the yes or no. You understand? Do you understand, Nancy?
Okay. Repeat it again.
I'm saying if you are the quantitative, we talk about the number of people you are spoken to, but in the qualitative, you rather capture the feedbacks. Okay,
Okay.
the feedbacks that they gave you. Okay,
Oh,
the
okay.
reasons why they gave you they don't like Brazilian hair. Those are the things you capture. You understand?
Like the information you gathered.
Exactly. Rather than the number of people. You understand? Do you understand?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it is more to do with the responses that you gathered from the people in terms of the not the number, okay? So the reason that they don't like Brazilian hair, okay? The reasons, okay, why they don't like Brazilian hair and all that. Those are the things you have to capture, okay? The experiences that you gathered, okay? Those are the things you have to gather. And the difference between qualitative data and qualitative data. The research design includes measures to control for confounding variables and ensuring the representativeness of the sample, okay? Data collection. Surveys and questionnaires are developed based on validated instruments and pilot tested. Data collectors are trained and standardized protocols established to ensure consistency. Informed consent is obtained from all participants. Confidentiality measures are implemented, okay? Data analysis. Statistical techniques are used to assess the reliability and internal consistency of your data. Both quantitative and qualitative data are analyzed systematically to ensure robust findings, okay? Reporting and dissemination. Findings are reported accurately and transparently, with limitations and potential biases acknowledged. Results are disseminated in a manner that protects participant confidentiality and adheres to ethical standards, okay? Reporting and disseminations, okay? Findings are reported accurately and transparently with limitations and potential biases acknowledged, okay? Conclusion. Integrating the principles of validity, reliability, and ethical considerations into research projects on socioeconomic disparities in healthcare and access ensures that the study is credible, accurate, and ethically sound. But by adhering to these principles, the research will provide valuable insight that can inform policy and practice, ultimately contributing to the reduction of health inequalities in the UK. And these are your reference. We bring our lectures to an end. Any questions at all? Any questions at all? Any questions at all?
Is there a time you can be asked you can be sent for research and where you
Yes.
was sent, like they refuse
They refuse what?
the research, like you've been sent somewhere to do the research and
Yes,
then,
that is what you capture in. That's what we call limitations. You remember I mentioned that.
okay, yeah, yeah, okay,
That's your so you capture them in your project. So I give example that in Nigeria at the moment, there's a lot of kidnapping going on. Are you aware of that?
yeah, yeah. I've
Are
seen
you
the
aware of
news.
that?
Yeah, I've seen in the
On the exactly. So I'm saying that imagine that you have been sent, you have been tasked to go to Nigeria in that area to go and do a research on what is happening there and all that. You are going to have limitations, isn't it?
yeah,
Isn't it?
yeah, most of maybe the government would allow you or they have kind of
Exactly.
something.
Exactly.
Okay,
And so those are yeah, people can refuse because people are not safe. There's risks of war and kidnapping going on. The play. So you might not have that free flow of information that you need from people and all that. You can refuse, but people are scared of their life. And so those are things that you would write them in your project where that those are your limitations. So if you're expecting to do have interviewed about 50 people or 30 people, you say because of the limitation, we're able to speak only to 2 people. You understand?
yeah, yeah. Mm.
Exactly. Or you didn't get anybody at all. And therefore you didn't rely on questionnaire. You have to find a different way, to get your information because of what is happening in the country. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Mogi, any question? Mogi, any question? Any question, Mogi? Or Nancy, since nobody's asking any question, I'll end for now. When else do you have lectures?
No, no question. Sorry, I've
Are you
got kids
sure?
here making noise. Yeah.
Are you sure, Mogi? Are you sure this is a proper research work? You don't have any questions at all? So
No, I was
what's the
about
difference?
to ask the same Nancy asked
Okay.
if they refuse for research, what you can do, but you already answered.
Yes. You
Yeah.
can't do nothing. You need to find a different way of gathering your information, because if
Yeah.
you were a company taxed you or they paid you money to do the research work, you need to come back to them. That is why they have stakeholders. You need to let them know what you're going through, and you have to capture them in your limitation. Those are what we call limitations in research work, because you are limited of gathering information because of what is happening. And so remember we mentioned about internal testing and external. Remember we mentioned that. So these are your external problems in your research work. Okay, it may be political, it may be ethical problem, it may be legal issues in the country or where you find yourself, environmental issue that is going on and all that. Okay, so those are, for instance, COVID-19. Imagine during COVID-19, everybody was staying at home. Okay, and then you are being asked to go and do a research work. You are going to struggle, isn't it?
Yeah, nobody will let you in.
Nobody on the street, everybody is scared. So the only way you can do that probably is gathering email and sending to people to reply, isn't it?
Yeah.
You might have to find a different way of gathering information. So you are going to have limited. If you want to do face to face, you are not going to. It's not going to work. There might be a different way of gathering information. Okay, exactly, but not through face to face participate and questionnaire and all that. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Yes. Now, Mugi, what did I say the difference between qualitative data and qualitative? Mugi, if you are with us. Mugi,
Yes.
what's the difference between qualitative and quantitative data? If indeed you are with
One has to do with number, the other one has to do with the quality of your information.
is it only numbers?
You have to ask how many people you give the example of wigs, Brazilian.
Mm-hmm.
So you said some of them they have to tell you why they don't like Brazilian hair.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, you have to ask about colors and stuff.
Good. And so which ones, the why and other, where do we categorize that in under our qualitative or qualitative?
Why is uh, has to do with quality. How many
Good.
is it?
Good.
No, the
Qualitative.
qualitative
Quality.
has to do
Yes.
with the quality of
Yes.
the thing,
Yes.
and
Yes.
quantitative has to do with
The
a
numbers and
quantity,
other things.
numbers.
Yes. Because the only reason why somebody will say I don't like qualitative or I don't like Brazilian hair, there must be a reason, isn't it? Or I like
Sorry, I
Brazilian
keep
hairs.
putting on a mute because I've got little ones here. They will make noise very soon.
Yes. And so somebody says I like qualitative, but why? Because Brazilian hair is good quality. Or I don't like it because it's too expensive, isn't it? Okay. All right, ladies, we'll bring our lectures for an end today, okay? Lovely getting in touch with you once again, okay?
Thank you. Is it going to be you on a model explain the
Yes,
things?
these are
Because
recorded.
some.
Yes, it's recorded.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
You are welcome. Nancy, lovely talking to you once again, okay?
We have another one tomorrow, right?
I think so. Well, I have to check. I think so. I have to check. Okay.
But we have it now.
Okay. If tomorrow they will meet, then tomorrow. Nancy. Where are you, Nancy?
Ready.
Nancy, I think today your video was cleared.
Was it?
Yeah, but it's very dark. So that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm in the dark.
All right.
And
Take care then. Take care, Nancy.
all
So
right.
are you in Namibia or where?
No, I'm in the UK. I'm in
Are you in the
Manchester.
UK? Oh, we didn't know that. We
Okay.
didn't know that. We thought you were
Yeah,
very far. We didn't know that.
I'm in Manchester.
You're in Manchester as well. That's lovely.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. All right. Ladies, I'll leave you for now then. Okay. Take care.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Bye. Bye. Mugi, you're also in Manchester, right?
Yes.
Oh, is it? Amazing. Amazing. Take care then. Take care. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.